Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Ji ayanu pakhair agale ni hao chune shumme washmale. Ohai genzaimas guten morgen. Hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal? Hale shuma chatore, ahlan masala marhaba, buna, mucho gracias, swabi, amballi kare aaya. Hosh Galden and Ayo Sayo. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning into PTV World. You're certainly watching World this morning, alongside my very wonderful, well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Haja Sati. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But first things first, hello Haja, how are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for introducing me, Shahzad. I'm doing wonderfully fine. Alhamdulillah. It's a new set, so totally a new vibe and a new colors and a very morning feeling which I'm getting nowadays, right? So Shahzad, I wanted to talk something about the social media, and of course we have been discussing a lot about it, right?
Go ahead.
Of course you're a celebrity, you're on social media and you have a public account, and you're also aware of the fact that it's a lot about, privacy is the biggest, I think, what do you call it? Yes, especially after the 9/11, because the states are also spying onto your media, and especially America is known for that. And a lot of people are saying that this digital imperialism, which the domination of America on the social media, is really harmful, especially when it comes to privacy, because all of your data, whenever it goes onto your phone, it's no longer your property and it can be used anywhere, right?
Exactly.
So how to responsibly use that?
I think that, for public figures, obviously, whatever we do in our life, it is because of the fact that there are a lot of people who are going to consume what we are producing, that content which we are putting out. But I think that in today's time, the real challenge is of memes, so no matter what happens, people can use your picture, video, post it whatever way they want to post it. But towards the end of the day, I think for public figures, we certainly do not really put a lot of stress on it, because I think that's how it is. Because when we speak about social media, for example, Facebook, Twitter, they give us that reach which television might cannot. Because imagine that, it's a free world in today's time, and we certainly do not have any borders in between. So, people might be watching our show across the border. And a lot of people actually write to us as well. Not just that, I was surprised to see that people were writing from Brazil as well, for all of those cricketing shows we were doing. So, you have a very different population. But yes, you're right. These challenges are out there. So one should always be mindful of what they're going to post on their social media. God forbid, if I'm going to post an opinion where a lot of people might be against it, I would certainly be like, okay, you know what, I certainly want to voice it, but let's use a better jargon to kind of put it up front. And once you have that stance and your character, whether you agree to it or not, I'll still post it on my social media because it's mine. But having said that, I think that, if it was Pakistan, or it was any other country who would have come up with such platforms, I think we had the same right, and we might have utilized it the same way. So if we put ourselves into their shoes, do you think that we will still continue to do what they have been doing?
I mean, yes, certainly it's a debatable thing, but having said so, of course, so you mentioned that you're very conscious about not putting your daughter's pictures on social media, right? Because you say that it can be misused, and that's very true, especially on the dark web, we find a lot of such pictures, right? Having said so, and also there was a very good point that I read yesterday, which was about that obviously our kids, they are now growing, so they do not have that much of an evolved intellect, but maybe when they grow up, they would not want their pictures to be on the social media. And parents are uploading a lot of their pictures, a lot of their videos, stories, their updates, live updates on the social media. And there was this one incident in which the particular family, they were blogging about it, and after some time, and they would used to put every moment onto the social media, and after some time they felt that our mental health was really in the crisis, because they were not taking very kindly to, people were not taking very kindly to whatever they were uploading, and after that they stopped using social media. So I think there should be some balance into how you use social media. Glued to the screen is obviously a very attractive option. It's very tempting because the kind of the content that is being produced, you also use that, right?
Not a lot. I mean, not as much as you do, but there's one more point to it as well. I mean, imagine that, I've posted my daughter's pictures as well, and it was just out of love. And there were days when I actually realized that, God forbid, people who do not have kids, imagine that if they come across your stories, for all of those blessings Allah has bestowed you with, there's not a majority of people who might be enjoying the same lifestyle. So why burden people with something which they might not have and start to think that you might be living a very immaculate life as well? So I think on that point, that was something which I'm going to refer to as an inner calling. And that was the point when I realized that I believe that it's best that I only share my work, nothing beyond that, and nothing lesser than that as well. And that's what I've been trying to do so as well, so that one day you might not come across a challenge where there are memes around pictures of you as well, and that's something which we might certainly not want. But let's get down to the top stories. Let's see what's happening inside the country and all over the world. Go ahead, Hajra.
So obviously Prime Minister met and there was a National Security Council meeting, and in that meeting they decided that they need to tackle the security actions, security situation and strong action against the activities of the banned TTP institutions directed to act against the anti-Pakistan propaganda on social media. The National Security Committee met in Islamabad with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in the chair, Federal Ministers, Army Chief, Chairman Joint Chief of Staff Committee and other civil military officials attended the meeting. Committee briefed about the country's overall security situation, particularly in the KPK Balochistan. The meeting expressed an unequivocal opinion that Pakistan's national interests would not be compromised and no one would be allowed to harm the country's national security. And obviously, like we said, after 9/11, security is one of the main points, and the definition is also evolving when it comes to security. It's now more focused on the human security, and that is what our Prime Minister is doing nowadays.
And I think that's the kind of resolve which will definitely take Pakistan forward as well, and not just that, become more prosperous and become more safe. Alhamdulillah, we've been living in safe times. We're glad to as well. And all the credit goes to our law enforcing agencies and the vision of our Prime Minister, Alhamdulillah. But now, since I'm I'm a lover of animals as well, ladies and gentlemen, so I'm going to take you to Saudi Arabia, where the King Abdulaziz Camel Festival, ladies and gentlemen, has initiated. So imagine that with more than 40,000 camels owned by 3,000 participants, Saudi Arabia's King Abdulaziz Camel Festival kicked off in one of the country's longest festivals in the capital, Riyadh. The festival is an opportunity for the prized animals lovers to trade in auctions for camels that fetch millions of riyals. The festival has scheduled camel competitions across 75 rounds for all types. Organizers and participants say that Saudi's obsession with camels have made their prices soar, with one animal's price reaching between 15 to 20 million Saudi riyal. I wish I had owned camels previously as well, and I could go and kind of take part as well. Imagine, so 3,000 participants bring in 40,000 camels. So how many camels does it make, for one participant? I think that's quite a lot.
And I think Saudis are a rich nation. They're oil-rich nation. So when it comes to money, so I don't think so it's a big issue for them. But having said so, obviously camel is a big identity of Saudi Arabia.
But I like it, Haja, and I like it. It's because of the fact that, people will talk about Rolls-Royce, people will talk about Lamborghinis and Ferraris. So imagine, here you have a camel which costs somewhere around 15 million to 20 million riyals. You can probably get 10 of the Rolls Royces out there as well. So I think it's great. They're keeping their culture alive. They made sure that it's going to create an economic activity as well. And I believe that that something of this sort really needs to happen over in Pakistan as well.
I think we have the Jeep rallies here in
we have Jeep rallies, we have tent pegging, we have polo. I mean, I love all the animal sports, to be honest. As far as we're not being cruel to animals, I think that's where I'm going to draw my line. But with polo, tent pegging, I'm a really happy person, and I go to these festivals and enjoy the most.
Yeah, and I think it was Pakistan that introduced the polo in the first place. So moving on to another very interesting story, it is about the light year, and it's about how Chinese New Year is being celebrated with more than glamorous lights, shows lights up at the skies in the Nanjiang and the Guoyang cities of China, celebrating the New Year and greeting the Spring Festival. Spring Festival, a Chinese Lunar New Year, is China's grandest traditional festival when people across the country return to their hometowns for the family reunions. More than 30 themed and atmospheric lights and lanterns and different images of cartoon rabbits and science fiction rabbit were put up to intensify the New Year fervor. So, Shahzad, I wanted to ask, so it's winter, so how can you term it as a spring festival? I really don't get it.
I mean, in China, the weather might be somewhat different. We've been talking about climate change too as well. So, and because over here even, we missed out on spring this time around. So I think that the spring went on to China straight and was like, hey, you know what? I'm not going to come down to Pakistan. So this time around, you can just go straight into the winter. But for Chinese people who are out there, then congratulations to all of you. I mean, with China, I've seen such fascinating things, such light shows, dancing fountains, and, drone shows, so they always come up with newer ideas, and I'm you know, whenever I look at them working so hard, because I've met a lot of Chinese over here in Pakistan, they work so hard, Hajra, that I actually draw inspiration from them. And having said that, you know, there's one more thing which I wanted to talk about, and that was that, you know, on the 28th, 29th or 30th of December 2022, I was like, hey, you know what, you know, so it does not really matter whether the year changes or not changes, you know, we still need to focus on our goals and just stay focused. But then eventually on the 2nd of January, it just hit me. I was like, you know what, it actually gives us an opportunity to kind of dedicate ourselves, make sure that whatever we want to change within our own personality or things we want to achieve, for example, even if we want to be closer to Allah Almighty, pray 5 times, it gives you another push to do so, just by saying that, you know, I'm entering into a new year, even though it does not make any difference. The only difference it's going to make is that I'm going to turn 36. I think that's pretty much it. But other than that, you know, that's something which I certainly want to focus on, because I've always spoken about how to capitalize on an opportunity, and this is an opportunity for people who really feel that they are lazy, they cannot do anything. I think just take advantage of this opportunity by kind of pushing yourself and doing better every single day.
And having said so, thank you so much for putting so brilliantly into the words. Having said so, I think mental wellness is an issue that is going to be very pertinent in 21st century in the coming days, because obviously the kind of pressures, the undue pressures that we have put into our life has put a lot of strain on us. And to combat that, there are a lot of ways, especially on the meditation, on the yoga, and how to make sure that you are fit. Not just physically but also mentally. So there are a lot of things, lot of meditation, yogas and other, I think, spiritually exercises which makes you fit, which keeps you fit. So to talk more about it, about what does the fitness means, what are the new resolutions when it comes to your fitness, we have a wonderful guest in our studio who happens to be Miss Aisha Khwaja, and she's a fitness expert and also a trainer. Assalamu alaikum, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for having me here, and a wonderful set and
Thank
bright
you so
morning.
Thank you very much for joining
hosts.
us. It's always wonderful to have you on the set, you know,
My
that
pleasure.
positive vibe, that energy, and it's great. You know, so first things first, you know, before we speak about how people can keep up with their New Year motivation, I think it's a little too early that we are asking it on this day and age as well. But how do you do it for yourself? Do you think that, you know, every time, you know, the date is going to change from 2022 to 23, it gives you an opportunity to capitalize, to push yourself, to dedicate, have that grit? How does it work for you?
Obviously, and you have already mentioned it so perfectly, that it's an opportunity, and life itself is a blessing. So we have to celebrate it each and every day, and we have to be grateful for this life, for this breath, for this moment. So let's be very grateful, let's celebrate it, and let's make our lives and the others around us better.
Celebrating is not a problem. Usually what happens is when we start to celebrate, we go too far beyond our limitations. And
But
then
I
at
mean
times
to
we
say
realize,
that we should not feel depressed that, oh, it's not happening for
But how do we
me,
get
so I
over
am
it?
low, I am
Yes.
stressed out.
Right.
so how do we get over it?
I think, I believe now for 2023, I am focusing on growth mindset.
Okay.
So it's your growth mindset physically, mentally and emotionally.
Yeah.
So for me, by physical growth mindset, I mean that let's focus on one goal, physical, that I am going to not only lose weight, but I'm going to beat anything, maybe laziness, any disease, maybe sugar or hypertension, cholesterol, anything.
Or
So-
things we have been taking
Yeah.
for granted. For
Yeah.
example, our health.
True.
Yeah.
True. So when we talk about the growth mindset, it's a very wonderful concept that you're talking about, and I do feel that nowadays, because of the social media, because of our other activities, our nation is, or I would say not just nation, the global village is becoming very lazy, right? We are glued to our screens and we are mindlessly consuming the media, and it's I always say that there's a wealth of information out there, but there's a poverty of attention. Our attention span has shrinked a lot. So how do you make sure in a world which is so much dominated by the social media, you will accomplish this goal of the growth mindset, in which you're focusing on curbing your laziness and making sure that you're physically fit and you're also
Not
spiritually
having
doing
a lot
well?
of mooli ke parathas and, you know,
Yeah.
things like that.
You love mooli ke paratha, right?
So we have to focus on our goals, that I have to achieve this. I'm not going to sit by the TV or watch the tele-marathons all day and feel that I'm running, okay?
Yeah.
I'm running marathon. So I think that there are so many things that we can learn from the social media as well. So YouTube, you can learn so many things from YouTube as well. It's your mindset, it's your growth mindset that takes you there. So
Right.
we have to make our choices. We are entitled to make choices.
True.
But it is our duty, responsibility to make the right choices as well.
Exactly,
Right.
but having said that, growth mindset and right choices, I think these are the two beautiful words which we have shared with us and our audiences out there in 46 different countries. But what happens is that, that there are a few things which we are unable to realize ourselves. For example, I might, somebody sitting outside this studio might realize what my potential might be, but even till date, I might not be able to realize that, hey, you know what, I'm not at 100%. I might somewhere be around 60%, 70%. For somebody to give me that piece of advice will take me to that 100%. So half of the time when people cannot realize what their true potential is, how do you think it will work? Because we've had a lot of bashing from our parents. पुत्र तुम बड़ा अच्छा कर सकते हो, तुम कर नहीं रहे हो, तुम पूरा दिन सोफे पे लेटे रहते हो. Not just that, we go out with friends, and when we surround ourselves with people who certainly have the same problem as we do, obviously we're not going to come out of that problem. So for any individual to realize that we have a problem with ourselves, how do we do that?
I think we first of all we have to have a goal.
Yeah.
Do you have any goal, and do you want to achieve it?
All right, and since
That-
we are speaking about it, I think it's wonderful that we are having a conversation just like, it's in my TV lounge. So imagine for me, I've never focused or centered, I've never focused my personality on a goal. So I've always focused on whatever life's going to give me every single day, I'm going to achieve it, I'm going to seize it, I'm going to bite on it 100%. For example, if I am supposed to come to the studio, at 9 a.m. in the morning and make sure that I give my 100%, this is an opportunity Allah has bestowed upon me. A lot of people are looking for this opportunity. If I'm not going to give it my 100%, not seize it today in this time and day and age, I don't think that I deserve to ask from Allah Almighty anything else, because I have not fulfilled one of my responsibilities, which in a blessing Allah has bestowed upon me. So I think it's an everyday, because for an anchor person, for a celebrity, for anybody who's a public figure, it's every day what you do, what people see, what people want to see.
It's a lot of hard work.
True.
There are so many people who, when did they see you, they're going to judge you and say, look at him, he's having fun, he's looking great,
I am.
and he's not putting any effort. But it's a lot of effort to come here, to sit on this chair. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of talent, and I think hard work,
Especially
potential.
on this one, because it slides downwards as well.
Yeah, and everyone around you is, they are, sorry to say, they are trying to pull you down as well.
True.
At times that happens.
Yeah.
So how do we keep that energy intact, that no matter what happens, if Allah is with us, we certainly do not need anything else. So how do we do that? There will always be people who will badmouth about you.
Yeah.
There will always be people who will hate you. There will always be people who will certainly pull your leg. What will be your answer? What do you think my answer needs to be to all of that people?
Yeah,
God forbid if I have any of them.
So, as I was talking about the physical and mental wellness, growth mindset, also comes the emotional growth or mindset.
Okay.
So, you have to just tell yourself each and every day that if anyone is not, they don't want to be there for you, it's not your problem.
Yeah.
True.
So you have to focus on yourself. You have to stay away from the toxic relationships. If they are not there for you, it's their capacity, and you are not responsible for their wrong feelings or whatever is going on in their mind. You just focus on yourself. If you are positive, if you want to achieve something, go for it.
But for something, let's talk about energy healing now. You happen to be an expert on that, and I wanted to talk about it. Now, it's not a very tangible thing.
Yeah.
That okay, I will do these exercises.
Yeah, meditate
something. Yeah, I'll meditate, and
miracle will happen.
Yeah, and I cannot see whether I'm healing or not. So, what is your take? For example, there are a lot of people who've been through a lot of refusals. There are a lot of people who might have been through anxiety, depression, hypertension. They might have not been able to achieve their goals, unfortunately. And I'm going to say a prayer for all of you as well, that may Allah give you whatever you've been asking for yourself in your life and your friends. So how do you think energy healing can actually be that one opportunity for a person to heal themselves, be a better version? Because whatever we manifest, that's what we're going to get, right? So why not early in the morning, get up, be so happy, hey, you know what, Allah me aaj ye karna hai mujhe, please.
Yeah. So I just follow this one person, and I was listening to his video, and he shared that overall in life we are so depressed and stressed, and it's like very much okay. It's a normal thing
Yeah.
to feel depressed. And if I come here and I say I'm so happy, I'm so
Yeah.
energetic, and you will just think that okay, something's wrong with her. Is she mad or?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So this is the mindset.
True.
So we have to fight it back, and every day is a struggle, is a challenge for you, and for me.
Yeah.
And we have to, like, showing up. It's a big challenge.
True. True. True.
So nothing like it that we have to show up, we have to sit here and we have to make it. And it's energy healing. I think it's your mindset, it's the vibe, and you have to work for it.
Yeah.
But what if you are bogged down, like Shahzad mentioned, by a lot of people who are toxic and who have this toxicity, even though if you are into energy healing, but then you go into the company, or maybe there's someone in your house who has this, I mean, may not intentionally do that, but unintentionally he has that negative energy
Yeah.
that may disturb you. And I think it happens all the time. We have those people in our families, in our homes, in our neighborhoods who bog you down. So how do you deal with that aspect?
I
And
think
it
I-
regularly
I-
happens. I'm going to just share an example over here as well. For example, so you walk into a ceremony, there might be one person, with their words, they're going to have an impact. And "Vekho ne aa gayi hai, hun edi gallan sun lo." You know, something of that sort. And you know the expression. Why would you say so?
And you get that vibe, right?
Yeah.
You always get that negative
Yeah,
energy.
fine.
Okay,
Then
let
kaun
me
hai
share my own experience that if I share one of my pics with my kids, they will tell me, "हाँ, अच्छी नहीं लग रही हैं, you लग रही हैं, वो लग रही हैं." I say, okay, the world is telling me I look good, and I always get this response from my kids that,
But theek hai. Yeah. So how do you deal with that?
So I have to tell myself,
scold
okay,
them?
okay, it's okay.
Yeah. Because most of the time, you know, when my daughter walks in and, you know, she's like, okay, ask me trivia question. I'm like, okay, I'm out of trivia questions. She starts saying, okay, you know, I'm going to ask you about myself. And every time she's asked me, okay, who's my favorite parent? I would say, you know, your father. She's like, nah, that's my mother. I'm like, okay, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
You know, so
But
for
that's
people
okay.
to feel things, I think it's okay
Yes,
to not
okay.
feel things as well.
Yeah.
You know, we take things too seriously at
Too
times.
seriously, and
we
we're
are too
very hard
emotional
on
at times.
ourselves.
Yeah,
True.
we shouldn't
Yeah.
be. But how do we? Because it's not helpful, and I've gone through that myself. I've been so hard on myself that I cannot even express it on TV how hard I have been on myself. And then at times, you know, I lay back and I relax, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I really need to talk to myself. That you know, you're just taking it too hard. You really need to take it easy. Believe in Allah. Have that power of faith, and things are going to be fine. And things have turned out to be fine. Shukr alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
And I would like to add on this that let's forgive ourselves.
Yeah.
True.
Let's forgive ourselves for not knowing things better at that time,
True.
because we're also human beings.
Do you get that feeling that यार ये
yeah,
चीज़ मुझे
yeah.
5 साल पहले पता होती तो मैं आज
Every day I learn so many new things.
alhamdulillah.
But then again, how do you, Shahzad, I'm going to ask you, and then Aisha, you can also answer is, how do you tread that fine line between forgiving yourself, and then sometimes what happens is that you become lazy in the name of forgiving yourself, right? You become too lax, and you, I think, put your guard down.
Too
and-
forgiving.
Yes, and put your guard down, and then and all in the name of forgiving yourself, and all of that self-motivation things that you find on social media.
Yeah.
How do you tread that line and make sure that, you know, there is a difference between forgiving yourself,
Yeah.
not being too much hard on yourself, and making sure that you are also achieving your goals and working hard so
Yeah.
that you are legitimate in
True.
your struggle for your
Okay,
life.
so there are two simple points. Number one, do not repeat the same mistake that you've made and you were
Yeah,
hard on
so
yourself just
true.
because of doing that mistake. And since we are humans, we are prone to mistakes.
True,
So
that's
it's
true.
only Allah who can forgive us, and you know, seek
That's
forgiveness
true.
from Allah Almighty. Only if you have hurt somebody else's feeling and emotions, you really need to say sorry to them. Number two, what I say is that, you know, God forbid, if I was hard on myself, the next day, if I recover from it, I will never use the words that, you know, I could have done better. Even in my mind,
Right.
I would never use these words, I could have done better, why did I do it, and all of these
Right.
things. Because what happens is when you use the same jargon, the same terminology within your own mind, what happens is the mind starts to think like that. You know, so why not say, hey, you know what, I'm going to be a better version of myself, not going to repeat the same mistake, nobody's cooler than me.
And there's this
That's it.
inner voice inside you, you know, that keeps, saying to you that, you know, you need to do this, you need to do better.
Yeah.
And that's not very forgiving, right? I think that's the left side of our brain or something like that, that keeps, you know, recalling all of those stupid stuff that you did, and, you know, make sure that you're going to do that again. And controlling that voice is actually a challenge.
Especially for people who are omnidextrous, you know, who write with both the hands, you know, their left and right
Oh,
both
really?
brains are actually working equally. And this is a challenge for me too. But
Are you like that? You can write with
yeah,
both
yeah,
hands?
I
Okay,
can do that,
okay.
alhamdulillah. You know, so
Alhamdulillah.
with my left hand, I can do a lot of
Yeah.
work. With my right hand, I can do a lot of work as well. I can write with both and everything. But how do you do it? How do you make sure that you're going to draw that line, that you're not going to take things too
Right.
seriously and kind of use positive words for your own betterment, for your own better emotional health, your mental health, your physical health?
And control that, very
Yeah.
critical voice inside your
You
brain.
know, I also have weak moments, and there are times that I cry a lot, and I cry a lot on my prayer mat. It's okay.
Yeah.
And
it's
then
perfectly okay.
I have to focus what I want to achieve, what I need to do.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then I push myself, okay, it's done. I'm going to do better next time. I'm not, like you have said, that we are not going to repeat same mistakes.
Yeah.
So, and I think I'm a quite a ambitious person.
Alhamdulillah.
So,
And we've
alhamdulillah.
always seen you like that, always bringing in that positive energy, making
Yeah.
sure that if you can help somebody, you're out there as well. It's lovely to be in conversation with you. Thank you very much, Miss Aisha, for
My
being with
pleasure.
us. But very quickly, before actually heading out towards a short break, Hajra, I have a question for you.
Okay.
And, so we've spoken quite a lot
So
about...
I am scared when you smile like that because,
No, it's not such a question. It's an honest debate I would want to have over here, so for the well-being of people and the way people think. So what is your take on feminism? I think that's something which I want to address in 2023, and not with the intention of setting something right, but I just want you to know what's your take on feminism.
Okay, so I am a lot into Islamic spirituality, alhamdulillah, and I have found that there are a lot of things in Islam. So, for example, if feminism was developed in 19th century or 20th century, right? But if you read Islamic literature, you will find that it's already very developed. So, there was this one instance where a woman questioned Hazrat Umar, who was that caliph, and he said that I stand corrected, the woman is right and I am wrong. So, women have their own voices in Islam, but I do feel that this syndrome of Western woman or the white woman saving the brown woman or brown sister, I do not believe in that, because I feel that there's a lot of imperialism in that. So in order to have your own voices, I do feel that you need to revert back to the tradition of Holy Prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Islam is developed, it's a whole lifestyle, it's a whole set of values that has given it to you, and you can find a lot of things, and I'm actually working on a research paper where I'm exploring this question. So thank you so much for asking.
Thank you so much for saying that as well, because I 100% agree to it, and there was a reason why I've asked it. Number one, for me, all of those people are feminists who talk about men and women's rights equally, number one. Number two, I think what happens is that, most of the times when I think that women who have this Western idea of feminism, what they do is that they would blame men most of the time. And unfortunately, I'm just going to correct some facts over here, because the road you drive on was made by a man. The buildings, the houses you live in was made by a man. The car you drove or are driving is actually designed by a man. So everything pretty much which you use.
Confrontation should
Yes.
never be in that question, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made the two genders so that we can grow, so that we can build in that sense, right?
Exactly.
So I'm never
This
into
is the
the
first time we
confrontation.
have agreed. Wow, that's wonderful. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to head out towards a short break. And we do know that away in Pakistan, we are a sports-loving nation. We love cricket, we love hockey, tent pegging. We've spoken about polo. We have spoken about Shandur Polo Festival as well. But what are we even thinking about people who certainly cannot play the way we play? And do you think that we're going to establish a sports circuit around them? I think that's our point of conversation today, ladies and gentlemen. Right after a short break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Good morning.
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, Shahzad was asking me about the feminism. Feminism is a concept that was initiated in 19th century, but we see that it has progressed a lot, and there's a lot of focus on inclusivity, on broader inclusivity and whatnot, right? So there's a lot of debate on how we need to include people who are differently able, people who have disabilities into the broader mainstream media, and not just the mainstream media, and the mainstream life as well. So when we talk about this subject, and also sports is one such arena which transcends the linguistic boundaries, cultural, social, ethnic, whatever, because it fosters the sort of economic benefits, the sort of spiritual benefits, the physical fitness benefits and whatnot. And we certainly wanted to talk about the people with disabilities in the sporting arena, and especially when we talk about it, we want to talk about the tennis. So there's people inside Pakistan who has actually won a lot of accolades when it comes to the sports of tennis, and how he has won a lot of medals for Pakistan, and that too who is differently abled.
Exactly, and in addition to that, we're not just going to make sure that we talk about him and his life and what he's achieved. I think that he's on a greater mission where he's like that we really need to develop a circuit of sports for people who are differently able or people who are living with disability as well. And why not? And I think that it has been a challenge for Pakistan that we certainly do not have that infrastructure which is very inclusive for people who live with disabilities. And so imagine if we do not have an infrastructure, and then there's this gentleman who's actually working on creating that sporting event around the people who live with disability is something which I'm going to praise quite a lot, because for the very first time that this initiative has been taken by somebody who happens to be a Pakistani himself. Not just that, he happens to be the first ever wheelchair tennis player, ladies and gentlemen. He was amongst the top 100. Not just that, he has won 16 times out of 17 competitions. He's been the best player as well 3 times in a single year. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we have been joined by Mr. Asif Abbasi, who happens to be an international wheelchair tennis player. Hello Asif bhai, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm very well, thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you very much, sir, for joining
us.
Sir, thank you very much for joining us. You've achieved quite a lot, alhamdulillah, in your life, and you certainly, against all odds, you made sure that you're going to emerge, you're going to be excellent with what you're doing, and alhamdulillah, you made Pakistan proud, and we definitely take pride in it. But now, sir, you come back with a very different mission, where you want other people to be able to do what you have achieved with similar challenges which you face. For example, if we are to talk about people living with disabilities, imagine for a country where we do not get infrastructure, where we're not going to have ramps everywhere, where they cannot travel, even if they feel like, not talking about Pakistan, Islamabad precisely, because in Islamabad, if you go to the metro, obviously it's very inclusive, the infrastructure, you can go anywhere. But there are other cities, there are places, there are rural areas. How do you think that we will do that? Because this is for the very first time that we are speaking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. There is a lot of things need to be done as far as, the disability, or I'll talk about physical, but also other, disabilities. There need to be, people come together, organization come together. And it's not only one person or one government has to do it.
True.
Everybody has to come together and then make inclusive society, and people who has got disability, maybe in their beginning of their life, or the later in the life. But this is what I wanted to show, that the showcase that people who has got a disability never thought about to representing Pakistan. Now, alhamdulillah, I have not only represented Pakistan in the world, and then I'm showing that if you want to do it, you can do it, but people have to come together.
True.
And the society has to play their role.
And walk us through your story, because it's very inspiring, and obviously it's a success story for Pakistanis, for people who are differently able. Tell us about your disability, at what age you got it, and obviously when you have such a radical change in your life, and how to overcome that, and how did that change your perspective about your life?
When I was very young, 2-3 years old, when I didn't know that, what happened, I had a polio, and from there, when I was 8 years old, and then the first time the realization of, the disability was itself very shocking for me. I remember that I discussed earlier that when I was in the school, and then my PE teacher said to me that you would run and then touch the wall and then come back. But I fell on the way. I was crying, but I touched the wall. I remember that, touched the wall and came back crying, tears on my cheek. And then after that, I don't know where did I get that strength to play sports. And I was like superstar in my school. But this journey began, and then alhamdulillah started 2017 wheelchair tennis.
And I think we have your pictures also on the screen, so that's a very inspirational thing to do. It's definitely, Shahzad. And also, so you're also interested in sports,
Yeah.
and you are a super cricketer fan, right? Into it. But I wanted to ask you, how is the tennis different from this tennis, which is for the people who are differently able?
First of all, I love cricket and I still play cricket.
And we do have a blind cricket team as well, having said that, yes.
Yeah, physical as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot your question.
So how is the tennis different from the tennis?
Is it
which
any
plays
different
in-
from the way people play usually, and then
Yeah,
is
there's
it
no
different? The rules are different on wheelchair.
Yeah, I must say that there's no difference in tennis. It's just the equipment. If you see on the court, people are playing. This is like tennis is equipment, wheelchair is equipment.
Yeah.
So it's not different, but only one rule is exception is there's 2 bounces
Okay.
instead of 1 bounce.
Okay.
So because we can't move lateral on
True.
wheelchair,
True.
so they have to go back and come back in, so they can give some time. But
Exactly.
It's still very hard, I must say, because there are 2 judgments involved in it.
Yeah. So you obviously need both of your hands to, roll your wheelchair, and then you really need to go strike back as well. And, before I even ask you that, whether your backhand is better or your forehand, I think what I wanted to ask you was that, over here we do have a sporting community. A lot of
Yeah.
people, we have done shows on adventure clubs and whatnot, wingsuits, parasailing,
Right.
para jumps and whatnot.
Right.
And I think with that, even if you are somebody who's actually living with disability, you still can manage to do that. I've seen people swimming without legs and arms at all,
Exactly,
and I've been flabbergasted of the fact that the intent they had. So how do you think was the response by the sporting community when you spoke about that I really need to kind of build a very sporting arena right around the people who've been unable to play for a longer period of time because of their disability?
First of all, like the media and yourself, playing a very important role
Exactly.
in developing sports are sports. You can't differentiate, but difference is that you are playing maybe using another piece of equipment like a wheelchair. Considering you need role models, you need infrastructure, you need good coaches,
True.
because it's a little bit different.
Exactly.
Different, from
And the technique is
conventional.
different too.
Yeah.
And the technique is different too as well. Obviously, for somebody who might not have been in that chair,
Yeah.
cannot even guide you about that.
Exactly. The first thing, when I started, the first thing, because I know how to play, forehand, backhand, or serve, but how to maneuver that wheelchair,
Exactly.
it was itself very hard working. What I did, I borrowed the wheelchair, and like literally 1 or 2 months, on my room, I just pushing forward, backward, forward, because
Practice.
practice, and then still learning, how to maneuver. The difference between, even you're playing on standing, the difference is like who moves really quickly
True.
is a better player.
Exactly.
Roger Federer, they are the best movers. That's why they're good. So also, need be very good, maneuverability of your how to turn, where to turn, inward, outward.
So
lot
the
of
more
things.
quicker you are, you're better.
Be
Now,
better.
I have a very important thing to ask, and that is, unfortunately, I have to say this, I have to do justice with my job. Imagine that, we're a cricket-loving nation. Our national sport is hockey.
True.
It's very rare to see good hockey stadiums in the country.
True.
And it's very rare to see good cricket stadiums in the country.
Exactly.
Now, imagine if that's the state for cricket, which we love the most, which we play the most as well. How do you think, or how long will it take for Pakistan to actually build an entire economic cycle around people who are living with disability and who want to play, represent in the Paralympics as well? And a lot of people do participate in Paralympics, and we've certainly won some medals as well. How do you think that we can grow within this industry?
Yeah. First of all, the financial side of
Because the equipment is expensive.
I was telling someone that the wheelchair I'm playing is like about 15 lakh Pakistani rupees, and then if I customize that wheelchair, you should maybe 20-25
इधर
lakh.
इंजन वाली गाड़ी मिल जाती 15 लाख.
Yeah, I just spent like a lot of money,
Yeah.
to buy a new wheelchair. But that's why we need to come and build that. We have to give the opportunity. First of all, we have got immense talent in. I have seen the players, playing cricket. I
Exactly.
think we can give them, the same players. If we give them racket, they can excel.
Exactly.
This is like my promise. And I'm level 3 tennis coach, you know, by the way, and I've got experience, you know, I can
So
teach
you can
them.
coach even.
Yeah, I can, and literally, I'm telling you, maybe the achievement of my career is when we played in March, World Team Cup. First time in 7-5 history of Pakistan, we participated. It's a Davis Cup of wheelchair.
Exactly.
So there were 7 countries in that group, including India. And you know what? Guess what?
You beat India?
We beat India. And that was the highlight of that achievement, that you know, my partner lost 6-0, and then I said, oh, he lost 6-0, I'm going to give him 6-0.
Yeah.
I gave him 6-0, even he was better, and then we played doubles.
Wow.
And then in doubles,
Does
we
it
lost
get
the first
difficult in doubles?
Oh,
Does it get difficult in doubles?
doubles, because they can
Or is
target
it
your...
easier?
They can
Because you
target...
certainly need to stay in your half court.
True.
No, you can move, actually. You
Really?
can move, yeah. You can go anywhere.
So
So this,
forward and back.
yeah, you can go anywhere. So what I said to my partner was a little bit weaker. So I said, let
manage.
me take the charge. You just tap the ball, get aside, I play. And literally I played against 2 and we won. My shoulder was swollen. Next day I couldn't move. I was like that.
Well, but we were so glad that, you know, that we kind of got to see you as well over here, and, you know, we had this opportunity to talk about, you know, whether how can we build an entire sporting, economically benefit industry around people, you know, who still want to do quite a lot, and they have this ability to do quite a lot as well. It's just that, you know, we really need to provide them with those meager resources,
Yeah.
and they will be on top, and they will take Pakistan's flag and the pride right on top,
And
touching
without,
the sky.
even without little push, we have seen how much talent has flourished here. We have seen that how many people, there was this guy, Arshad Naeem, who won that, what do you call it, the javelin throw, yeah.
Arshad
The-
Nadeem.
Yes.
Arshad Nadeem,
So, having said so, I wanted to ask about how empowering do you feel the tennis is for you, especially when it comes to the disability or the differently being able, and why particularly tennis? Because there are a lot of other sports in which you can venture into it. So, what is that story?
You know, I started cricket as, you know, growing up, and then I got a chance, you know, in Islamabad that I used to go and see, you know, the tennis players, and then I was copying after that. I got a job in F9 Park, you know, and then I developed myself over there as a tennis coach.
Wonderful.
And wheelchair tennis, when I moved to UK about 13, 14 years ago, and then I had an injury in 2017. 2016, I had an operation of my left leg, which is a stronger leg. And then I saw there was a, you know, people were playing in a basketball, wheelchair basketball, and I said, let me try that. And then try that, and after that I didn't look back, and then I got a lot of success in wheelchair tennis. So then when I thought, you know, why not, you know, I have to play for Pakistan. This is my country, you know, where I grew up, and
Right.
then I have to be a role model for those, you know, who
People,
think
yeah.
that they can't, and then bring that wheelchair tennis in Pakistan. So there's immense talent. Even if we give them, you know, the cricket bat, we can give them tennis rackets.
True.
But the problem is, like, the playing arenas, like you said, tennis courts. We need some public courts where they can go, and then also some organization should come along and then help them and then empower them, you know. And then there are a lot of financial issues, you know, regarding
Bindings.
Bindings.
Well, I think that's how life is. You know, life
Yeah.
does not come easy for everybody. You know, it will always have its own challenges which will be thrown towards you. But thank you very much, Asif Abbasi Sahab,
Thank
for
you
being
so
with
much.
us. It was lovely to be in conversation with a person who is a champion at heart and a champion for Pakistan too as well.
True.
May you succeed in your goal, and that's something which we
Amin.
really want to witness in near future for Pakistan, that, you know, that we're such an inclusive society. Everybody's playing together, everybody's studying together, everybody's progressing together. Once again, thank you so much.
Let me say thank you to you and you know, my parents and my family, and then all who helped me to achieve this success. But I want to say the people who are watching me, and then the disability is nothing.
It's just in your mind.
In my mind, in your mind, you know, if you can overcome that, you can achieve anything, and never stop excelling in your job. Whatever you do honestly, with the sincerity, you will achieve your goals.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
being
so
with
much.
us. Lovely to be in conversation with you, and for people who are out there who think that they can contribute to this idea, please make sure that you do not waste a single second. Take that initiative, help a lot of other children, be better, be bolder, and let's give them that opportunity within their own motherland where they do not have to look outside, that they might have done better in life. And why not? Because when we say, Haja, that Pakistanis are a very resilient nation, we are, and inshallah, we're going to prove to you that every single day of our life.
And there's no dearth of talent, and please allow me to say this, but because PTV has been always empowering people around the world, in our country. And when I say that, and when the debate is hinged around the people with disabilities, we have certainly had Muniba Mazari here, who's also differently able, and PTV was the first platform who employed her, and she was a success story. And she rose to such a fame, to such a great lens, and obviously she had a very inspiring story, and she had struggled a lot, and how she catapulted and how she made sure that she wanted to fight and she wanted to be a part of that. And certainly nowadays we also see her, how she is, I mean, tackling a lot of issues and with her public speaking and motivational skills and whatnot. Alhamdulillah. But the question is that there's a lot of debate going on how to mainstream people who are differently abled. But then are we walking that talk around that narrative? That is to be seen, and how we are going to do that in the future. So make sure that you put your part into that and walk the talk around that subject.
So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
World This Morning,
on Twitter,
World This Morning,
on Daily Motion and YouTube,
World This Morning.
and the fabulous repeat is going to be at 1 a.m. tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time, look after yourselves. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
morning.
Thank you. Thank you.